right. So you first do the mental work. Then you basically do the physical work. You follow this person. You don't try to blow them away. You don't try to cut around them.
Yes.
You actually put the effort in to drive safely behind them.
Yes.
And while you're doing this, and while you're forming the thought in your mind that you would like to pass, you know how you position your mind. It's like when you're trying to get through a crowded hallway and you'll tap someone on the shoulder and they'll just yield a little enough for you to get squeezed by. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's that kind of thing. And then while you're doing this, you allow yourself to be distracted, to give up on it, to say, okay, you know what, I really like to pass this guy. But in fact, like Castaneda recommends, you turn it into a controlled follow. I'm willing to follow this guy till hell freezes over, or till I get where we're going, whichever comes first, whether or not I can pass him. And I'm just going to give up on my request and let go of it. Sometimes I have to just turn on the radio and get lost in what the person is saying. Maybe they're listening to us and doing it right now. And then at the moment your ego has dropped, the moment you've given up, let go, forgotten, you will notice, if it works for you, that something will come up and the obstacle will disappear. Either Farmer Brown will pull over, or the road will widen and there'll be a passing zone, or something will happen that enables you to safely get past the obstacle. It happens at the very moment you really let go of your trying to do this thing, when you drop your ego. And you'll know when it's going to work because you'll realize when you were faking it, you really think you dropped your ego, you still want to get past it, goddammit.
Yeah.
And you'll also know, and you'll notice when, in fact, you actually let go. And look, you can't power trip this. You can't brag about it. You want to keep your ego out of it. You don't want to tell the guy next to you in the car that what you're going to do, because that's power tripping, and that's ego building, and that it prevents you from dropping your will, your expectation. But if you do this in a gentle and humble way, if you pay attention, if you do it beyond the point at which you have any expectation of it's working,
You're doing what Gandhi would do.
at the very moment when you've really given up your expectation it will work, that's when it will manifest.
I understand. That's what Gandhi would have done.
Well, I don't know Gandhi that well, but maybe. It's certainly consistent with most of the spiritual traditions that I've heard about.
A totally non-violent approach to a confrontation.
Also, may I point out, not based on belief or faith. I'm talking about running an experiment until it's settled to your personal satisfaction.
I hear what you're saying. I don't know I could do it. It's fascinating.
I'll bet you do it all the time. But I bet with your problem, maybe noticing it. And that's one reason, one way people, if you start noticing how the world is more interconnected, it's scary because you notice you have more responsibility than you'd like to have, and that you're also more helpless than you'd like to be.
Stan, it's just not true. I've got to tell you the truth. For example, tonight I have this little studio here, so the audience can see me while I do my program. It's turned off tonight. You know why it's turned off tonight? It's turned off because for the last 48 hours, I have been having a battle with the computer. And Stan, I will either fix that computer or I will break it beyond all recognition. But I will not sit there and give up on it, or in essence, become Gandhi-like.
Well, you're exactly right.
Either I'm going to beat it or I'm going to destroy it.
Okay, well, so you're not using this technique in this circumstance. I don't think you're doing it all the time.
My room is a disaster, so I can't turn on the cameras. I mean, there's stuff all over the place here, and that's the way I am about things.
Well,
I will keep coming at them until I get them or they get me.
Okay, I don't want to tell you what you do. I would rather you pay attention to you and discover what you do and told me. That would be a little more honest. And let's get back to the pyramid and the science stuff.
All right.
And I want to make that point because you were talking about this potentially radioactive stone, and I said that there might be an explanation to that.
And I didn't say radioactive.
I said that.
I just said what I observed.
I said potential.
Yes.
Right. We don't know. You observed. You told me you observed when you brought this stone that was excavated in the pyramid.
Yes, sir.
Near your fluorescent watch face, it glowed more than it would normally have glowed.
Yes, sir. I mean, eerily so. I mean, so much glow that it actually caused some light around me to hit the walls. I mean, it was a little scary.
Unfortunately, it doesn't take a lot to make a watch crystal for a lot, so that may not be a dangerous situation. I wouldn't go to sleep with it next to me, and I wouldn't lick it until it was checked with a Geiger counter.
No problem.
But other than that, my first hypothesis is it's probably mildly radioactive, and that's probably not terribly extraordinary, other than it may be deliberate. There is a reason why you would want to make a structure like the pyramid warm. It may even be one of the reasons you would pick Cairo as a location, because it's warm there. If the pyramid were actually, and I'm saying if here, if the pyramid were actually a device, then we could use certain basic scientific principles to figure out what kind of device it is. We know devices, when you're making something useful and meaningful, the materials we choose and how we fashion them and the conditions in which we use them are important. You don't make an automobile block out of a soft material that melts at the temperature that gasoline burns.
That's correct.
All right? And you don't hone the outside of the carburetor, even if you're a car nut. You merely polish it because that would be a gratuitous behavior. You need to hone the cylinders to get them that smooth. But to make it look pretty, you don't need to hone the outside of the carburetor. So that's what you do, and the precision with which you do it, the conditions under which you use it, are very important. If we want to understand the pyramid, we shouldn't just speculate wildly. We should set out a set of hypotheses, and then we should check them off and see what they lead us to. Well, the most important, most impressive thing about the pyramid is its size. So the first question to ask is there a reason other than the purported vanity of Pharaoh that it would need to be that size? And we should put that on the table. The second most obvious thing about the pyramid, and this is the most obvious thing that no one seems to have noticed, is its material. Most of the pyramids, now the chambers and passages are lined with granite. But the bulk of the pyramid, well over 95%, maybe over 99% of the pyramid, is limestone.
Limestone, yes, sir.
Limestone. And if we examine limestone carefully, we discover something truly astonishing, which no one seems to pay any attention to. You know, one of the things that's most important in science is resonance, is when things are like other things and therefore can partake of them and interact with them. The pyramid is made of limestone. Limestone is predominantly calcium carbonate. The pyramid limestone is not that pure. The outer casing stones were much purer, but predominantly calcium carbonate. Calcium carbonate is a very interesting material. It's the most common mineral on the face of the earth after the silicates, after the granitic material. All of the calcium carbonate on the surface of the planet, I believe this is true, maybe our listeners will correct me, is the result of the dissolving and recrystallizing of invertebrate skeletons. This is bone that's been dissolved or crushed and compacted and crystallized. And so it's the ash of life. The pyramid, a calcium carbonate structure, sits on a limestone outcropping at Giza.
I believe that's right. Yes.
And that limestone outcropping is part of the eggshell of limestone that surrounds the entire planet. And just like a real eggshell, it's pretty porous. And so we really have a kind of Gaia egg here with this little pyramid sticking out at this particular location. So we have to ask ourselves, is that important too? And of course, we're going to find out it is. Well, the astonishing thing about calcium carbonate is it's got several forms. It's limestone. It's also mother of pearl. It's also chalk. It's really crushed. If the crystals are bigger, it's like limestone, which has medium-sized crystals, not so pure. And if they're really pure, then we have calcite, Iceland spar, a completely clear mineral, crystal clear, fiery fringent. You look through it, you see a double image, used in the ancient and modern world for that extraordinary property. If you cross two pieces of calcite, it's like crossing two polaroids. It gets dark at one angle and bright at another. And anyone can see this. And you can find this stuff lying on the ground all over the world, and you can find it in Egypt. And calcium carbonate in its crystal form, Iceland spar or calcite, cleaves in a regular sharp way. If you drop the crystal, it always breaks into the same shaped pieces, the same angles. And those angles are, in fact, the pyramid's most important angles. The pyramid is a model of the crystal of the material it's made of. And I I don't think many people have noticed that, and that's very important.
All right, Stan. When we come back, I would like to open the phone lines. There's plenty on the table here. Let's see how they react. All right?
All right.
All right. Coming up, we will go to the phones when we come back.
You're listening to Art Bell Somewhere in Time. Tonight featuring a replay of Coast to Coast AM from July 8, 1997. Coast to Coast AM from July 8, 1997.
The material being presented this morning is something that you apparently either get and understand or reject and get angry at. That is what I'm concluding by reading what I'm getting from many of you out there. Back to Stan and your questions coming up. This should be very, very interesting. Very interesting.
You're listening to Art Bell Somewhere in Time on Premier Radio Networks. Tonight, an encore presentation of Coast to Coast AM from July 8, 1997.
Back now to Stan Tenen, who has a BS in physics and has been researching Bible codes derived from ancient Aramaic that produce geometric shapes that induce a condition which actually allows one to experience what is described in the Bible. Not to read it, not to have an understanding of what you read, but to actually experience it. That's what he is saying is contained in this woven tapestry of information in the code of the Bible. And now we have begun to talk about the pyramids as well. And I'm going to open the phone lines, and so anything can happen. Stan, are you there? All right, anything can happen once we open the phone lines. So let's see what the audience has to say, all right? First time caller line, you're on the air with Stan Tenen. Good morning.
Good morning, Art and Stan. How are you?
Fine. Where are you?
I am calling from Cleveland, Washington.
Yes, sir.
My question is, and let me preface this by saying I've lived in the Middle East myself and have visited the pyramids and the Sphinx and was filled with a little bit of wonderment in that. But my question was the latest discoveries they've found on the Sphinx and the relationship between the pyramids and the Sphinx, dating, etc., and materials as well, if there might be some links, materials and placement and so forth, not so much for obviously the solar benefit of alignment, but also astronomical outside our system, and then also the biblical context of it, having been studied that extensively pretty much most of my life as well. I think that there's a lot of things that we're discovering today, that there are many similarities and alignments in both the Islamic belief and Christian and Judean beliefs that are being confirmed with what's happening today with some of the mathematical explanations for them.
Well, I think what you're saying is basically correct. I don't know a lot about the Sphinx. I haven't done that myself. I am very open to what's been suggested recently. I do, in general, like the work of Hancock. I think
about as much older than what they believed that it had previously believed it was.
I certainly think we should take what they're presenting seriously and dates. That doesn't mean that others are right, but it does mean that there's plenty of room for and our understanding here. And some of what I know tends to be consistent with what Bell and Hancock have presented. Also, we haven't talked about the sky connection to these codes in the Bible yet either, but there is a connection, and it's the same sort of connection as with the pyramids.
All right. I would like to bring something up here, and then we'll go back to phones very quickly. And it has to do with Mars. We've got Surveyor on Mars right now, and there are some remarkable discoveries being made. For example, they're claiming that at one time Mars was covered in a great flood. We're talking about a red, dusty planet with rocks everywhere, and what they are concluding is at one time there was a great flood. Well, where the hell did all the water go? I mean, that's an incredible thing to contemplate. 3 billion years ago, there was a great flood. Mars was in a water world. And now there's no water. It's dusty and dry and red and has rocks, and they're talking about volcanic activity and all kinds of things that are just utterly unimaginable to us. They're saying that the rocks that they're seeing there have a complete resemblance with the analysis they've done so far to that which we have found on Earth, which were somehow blown off from Mars in some great catastrophic hit that harbor some sort of microbial life. There is a great mystery there, and it's unfolding before our eyes, raising more questions than it is answering. And of course, we have these geometric shapes and these things at Cydonia that we don't understand and that we are presently not investigating. Do you see a connection there?
Yeah, to some extent. I'm not a planetary physicist, and I only know what I've been told by others.
Right.
But in fact, there is a direct connection between the geometry in the vicinity of the basin on Mars and the geometry of the model human hand we found specified in the Bible. The model hand, when you make a tabletop with thumb and fingers down, ideally, based on this model, your fingers would come down at 19.5 degrees.
19.5.
19.5 approximately. I mean, there's more decimal points there, more digits. That's that same marker angle as has been proposed is the underlying principle of the area around the face on Mars, so-called. So it's not the face per se that convinces me.
The geometry.
It's the hand on Mars that convinces me.
All right.
And also, to be explicit, I found that mathematical analysis very, very intriguing and very, very important. But the clincher for me is the fractal imagery photographs that are in Carlano's book on Mars, which shows that the face and some of the other objects in the area are quite anomalous when they're analyzed using fractal methods of analysis, which we've only recently developed. And so that combination of circumstances I find is very, very intriguing and suggestive. I'm hoping that one of these NASA missions to Mars is going to actually go back and have a good look.
Is it possible, this is a reach, but let me just open it up, that there was, where there's water, there very well could have been life. Obviously, the suggestion is there was life on Mars, intelligent at one time. What's there is too geometrically similar to what's here to not suggest that there was intelligent life there at one time. So,
it's certainly possible. Water is very important for life, as we know it.
Yes, indeed.
But then, we've recently discovered life on Earth in places where we didn't think was possible. We used to think that the sun was necessary because of energy and information considerations.
We now know it's not.
Thermal vents and deep sea can provide an equivalent source.
No question about it.
So that was totally unexpected. I'm very liberal on the idea that there is going to be life throughout the universe, and I think the bigger question is how intelligent it is. I think it's almost inevitable. I mean, we've already found carbon molecules of various forms that have suggested of life on all kinds of things that have hit our planet from outer space. And it's just very plausible that some of these life-like proteins are going to occur, and organic chemicals are going to occur given how vast the universe is.
But Stan, where I was going with this was, if there was life on Mars, if it did evolve to an intelligent level, is it not possible that these geometric patterns that we see were created by Mars equivalent to our pharaohs?
Oh, sure. I wouldn't get that culturally explicit, but yeah, absolutely. That this is, if there was intelligent life, there's good likelihood they built what we're looking at. Absolutely.
That there is something universal in what you have been talking about tonight.
That's right. That's what I'm saying. This isn't a matter of believing in Judaism or Christianity or Islam, or in Egyptian religion or anything like that. This is a matter of underlying patterns that permeate the universe, just like the number pi is universal throughout the universe. It's not dependent on the measurement, although that's how we first learned about it.
It just is.
It's an ideal mutation that you find when you use mathematical methods to compare radiuses in the ideal to circumferences in the ideal. And you always, no matter where you are, no matter what your consciousness is, no matter what you believe, you're going to find that value of pi in whatever number system
absolutely makes sense. Wildcard Line, you're on the air with Stan Tennant. Hi.
Hi. I wanted to ask a couple of questions. One was when you were talking about the identification with God being overwhelming. And this is what Carl Jung said, that an unmediated realization of God could be overwhelming people.
That appears to be true.
And, this is kind of an empirical thing in the 20th century that he realized. And the other thing I wanted to ask you was, do you know if, or do you have any opinion about whether the people who actually wrote the Bible had did it deliberately and encoded that message into the Bible, or it was something like John David Oates?
All right. That's very good. I think we get it. In other words, was this an intentional encoding, or I don't know whether you know about Mr. Oates, who does reverse speech, and it seems to be reverse speech is fascinating. You just play something backwards, and every few seconds there will appear this congruent sentence that appears to come from the unconscious, which either is always congruent with what's being said forward, but either reveals it to be a lie or the truth. So did the people who write the Bible know what they were doing, or is this coding something that was probably not a conscious thing at the writing?
Well, I don't know if there's a simple answer, but let me give you an analogy. Is the number pi written by our mathematicians, or is it intrinsic to be discovered in the world? Obviously, it's discovered,
yes,
but it's also, we choose the number system, we choose to do the calculations, and we choose to interpret them. My understanding of the experience of Moses is that because of his great humility, his ego dropped out, and he was able to experience a kind of unification of the conscious and the physical world, and that unfurled through him in a way that he could express in Hebrew letters that represented the path of the feelings that he received and experienced. That what the sequence of letters in the Hebrew Bible represents is literally, as best can be recorded, the experience of Moses in detecting this pattern and in receiving it from, well, you can say God, you don't have to believe in God, wherever it manifested from. If it could come from nature like pi does, you don't have to believe in God to discover pi. I prefer to believe the stories as we're given them, But that's my choice. I can't prove they really happened. I do know that honorable people wrote the stories, so I believe that they chose things to say that they believe to be literally true. But that's not really dependent on the experience that Moses had directly. Moses, I think, wrote down a sequence of Hebrew letters which are pretty much analogous to the process a mathematician uses when they calculate and write down the sequence of digits in pi. That Moses was recording something intrinsic, the relationship between consciousness and physicality. And that's what the Bible at a letter level, the sequence of Hebrew letters, actually represents. And there's a possible proof or confirmation of this. If I'm right, then these Bible codes consist of these equal interval letter split patterns, which I'm saying appear to let me that the text is woven of these patterns, so that these equal skips are like looking at stripes on a Navajo rug.
Sure.
All right? That these actual patterns are patterns that exist in nature. Now, the Jewish tradition teaches that the Torah is the template of creation, and that God, in a sense, looks through the Torah and projects the world. Well, we don't have to believe that or disbelieve that to test it. If we can look through the Torah and see the world, then that confirms the teaching. Well, what could we see? It appears that these woven patterns are like basket weaving, like reeds, very similar to the sorts of maps that are woven by Polynesians and Micronesians to navigate using the tides and using the sky, the heavens. We know that the ancient Egyptians, we know that the Israelite traditions, we know that the Babylonians and many of the other ancient people had excellent calendars. They observed the heavens. A lot of the pyramid archaeology research that's being done now is also focused on the observation of the heavens. When you attempt to draw these epicyclic patterns that the planets and the constellations and the stars appear to make in the sky, they look for all intents and purposes like basket weaving. I'm saying that as part of what we're discovering is woven into the Torah text is basket weaving that represents the patterns of the temples of the heavens. And that if we can project that same pattern onto the temple of our mind, in principle, there's no difference between inside and outside. We have no skin, and we are experiencing an ego death experience, a meditational or prophetic state. That this is not mysticism, this is a neurophysiological reality that can be tested, that this isn't some theory that I'm making up. We can literally look at the woven patterns in the Torah text which exist and compare them to patterns in the heavens and see if they're the same. And we can flesh out these ideas to the extent that they're true, and refine them, and learn a good deal about how the ancients view the world and what they were really recording in what we call the Bible.
All right, when we get back, I want to ask you, if you were in a debate with Mr. Grossman, who wrote the Bible codes, would it be a debate of process, or what form would the debate take? That's what I'm going to ask when we get back, and back we will be in a few moments, and we'll really be hard into the phone. So hang in there, everybody.
You're listening to Art Bell, Somewhere in Time, on Premier Radio Networks. Tonight, an encore presentation of Coast to Coast AM from July 8th, 1997.
Me on my
Coast AM from July 8, 1997.
Have you ever noticed that music has a lot of the same properties? Music is mathematical, without question. Music can produce an altered state without question. Now, it's a weak analogy to what we've been discussing, but I think it is analogous. I'll ask about that in a minute. My guest is Stan Yemen, and we're talking about Bible codes and more.
Here's what you missed on Coast to Coast AM with George Norrie.
I want to talk with you about the globalists. What made them so greedy? What made them so evil?
The reason the globalists are upset is because the public is now realizing this is life and death. This is serious, folks. When I tell you that they're in trouble, that doesn't mean we're winning. It just means we have a fighting chance that we're in the game. And everybody needs to have the maximum effort right now to get the word out, or these people are going to win.
Now we take you back to the night of July 8, 1997 on Art Bell, Somewhere in Time.
All right, back now to the telephones. And Stan, are you there?
I am here.
All right. I promised people active phone lines, so we got to do it. East of the Rockies, you're on the air with Stan Yemen. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Jeannie, and I live in Fort Myers, Florida.
Hi, Janie.
How are you?
Fine.
I've been walking down the same road that Dan has walked and run into some interesting information that I wanted to share. Another gentleman was working on Bible codes and wrote a book called The Signature of God. I don't know if you've heard of that one.
I've heard the title. I haven't seen it.
Okay. He was using 22 space intervals and coming up with sentences such as, Yeshua is my name, Yeshua is gift. I don't have the book here, or I use some other ones, but he also uses 22 interval spacing to determine some of the prophetic things such as Hitler, the Third Reich.
Okay, that's Drosnin's work you're talking about.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not sure. Yeah, the Third Reich was mentioned in there.
Yeah, that's basically, that's the part of this that is not valid. The codes that have been detected statistically are valid, but the interpretations about Hitler and Yeshua and Joe Camel and Buddha, all that's been done too, are not valid. And there are sound technical reasons why that's true.
I understand. I asked this and didn't get back to it. If I were to have Mr. Drosnin on the program with you, and there would be an ensuing debate about his interpretation of the coding and yours, what form would that take?
Well, I would spend on three pieces of information. First thing I would do, and I just pulled this out of my bookshelf while we were on commercial break here. And I know not everyone has a statistical reference library, but I happen to have a few books. This is from Reasoning About Luck by Zine Ambigayokar, published by Cambridge University Press. It's a recent publication. It's a scholarly publication by a quality statistician. On page 9, he says, quote, about statistics, it's worth making the point that the concept of probability makes sense only when there is some understanding or working hypothesis about what is going on. What that means is that although the numerical results that the statisticians have obtained are correct, their meaning is completely undecidable unless and until there's a working hypothesis. And that's what's been missing. And the benefit of a working hypothesis of a model is that it enables you to sort the real, meaningful results you have from results that you know you can expect to occur by virtue of accidents alone. You can't tell the difference between a coincidence or an accident and a real data point without a model. And that's the problem. The Hitler, Yeshua, rabbi names, but it's not just, I'm not trying to just be negative here. These shorter codes that say redeem, assassin, or assassinate are not legitimate because they fail the basic principle of probability theory. There is no working hypothesis. Now, that's the first leg I stand on, and I think any statistician would have to back me up on that, including the people who did the work.
Well, if I can get Mr. Droslin on, would you be interested in such a debate?
Oh, absolutely.
All right. Hold on. West of the Rockies, you're on the air with Stan Yemen.
Hi.
Hi.
Stephen in Victoria.
Victoria, BC, all right?
Yeah. First of all, Art, that piece of rock that you received from the pyramid,
Yes.
how close to your computer and your cameras do you have it?
Not close enough.
That's not TV screen go up too, you know.
That's worth a try.
Yeah, you might want to remove it from the room or something.
It's not in the room.
Okay. I was just going to make a slight, I guess it's probably a major comparison. Most religions, when people are trying to find God, they're either in prayer, or if they can't find God, then they're asking for God, so their hands are outstretched. So it's fairly symbolic that it would come back to the hands themselves. And with regards to the pyramid, it's probably something that God had created and left there as a testament. And the Egyptians, in their evolution and everything else, probably moved into it at some point in time. And they'll probably find at some point in time that there'll probably be a connection between Moses and the pharaohs, and something to do with the golden calf that might actually be hidden somewhere in the Great Pyramid itself.
Well, I know people hold beliefs like that, and everyone really has a right to their beliefs and to work through them. I'm trying not to pay a lot of attention to traditional teachings at the word level. I've been trying to do, in spite of my personal beliefs, an analysis of the physics of what I see, and in the case of the Bible text, the sequences of letters. And so I heard the story that you just told us from others. I think that it's important that you work through what you believe to be true, but it's not something that I can focus on.
Yeah.
I think that we are the agents there. Assuming that, I'm an Orthodox Jew, so I can say assuming there is a God, but I don't think you have to believe that. I'm saying assuming that there's a God, that we are the agents by which God works. That if God made the pyramid, he used us to do it. Because I don't see any need for a miracle there. We didn't get into the physics that explains some of the legends about meditation and initiation, but in fact there are rational explanations for the alleged properties of the pyramid that are much more spiritually sound than simply jumping to a miracle. That's part of the problem with the Bible code, jumping to this prophetic level and jumping over the empowering level of real understanding.
All right. First time caller line, you're on the air with Stan Yemen.
Yes, you want me to know?
That's you.
Yeah, this is Rebecca in San Diego.
Hi.
And Mr. Tennant, I just want to say that I deeply, deeply love you, love what you're doing, and you may not consider yourself much of a saint, but I consider you a spiritual giant. You're not a Pharisee, but let's face it, the Pharisees were the ones that crucified Christ. They missed it altogether. The question I have is, I've always had a deep desire in my heart, being a Christian, to get a pure translation of the Bible. And I've been told that I've never quite trusted the translation that I'm reading. And I've been told that there's been changes made, like, this is like a crude example, but when it was originally written, it was written something like, my stomach would praise the Lord. And when it was translated, it would be translated something like, my soul would praise the Lord. And they changed what was originally said. And I was wondering if your words are going to help to get back to the original translation of the Bible.
Well, yes, actually, if these theories that we're working with check out, then one of the things we've discovered by taking an analytic scientific approach is that we've actually found a way of rationally assigning meanings to each of the Hebrew letters.
Right.
And we've discovered that the meanings we found by this rational analytic process actually match up with the traditional letter name meanings for letters. But that the benefit of our operational meanings is that you could actually add them together to figure out what the root word means. So that, for instance, the word that we translate now as Sabbath, which we know is, in a colloquial sense, means the seventh day of the week.
Right.
The actual Hebrew letters say to sit within yourself, which implies meditation.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And that's also why Jews are taught, in my opinion, this isn't the rabbinic teaching, this is from my work. That's why I believe Jewish tradition teaches that you don't carry outside of the home on the Sabbath. You sit within yourself. You don't take outside and do work. And so, if you go to the letter level and read it letter by letter, you can get a more accurate sense of the meaning. In terms of translations of the Hebrew Bible, I think your best way to proceed would be to get as many different translations as you can find and do your own comparison.
Right.
I don't think that one can express the full meaning of the Hebrew in any one English translation. That's true of any great work. It's not just true of the Bible. You can't translate Shakespeare very well into French unambiguously. I'm sure there's some beautiful translations, but I'm sure they're not all the same. So I think that if you want to get a deeper sense of what the actual Bible is saying and get away from some of the mythological interpretations that our religious traditions have shaded there, maybe, certainly inadvertently, but inevitably, then get a Hebrew version, get a Catholic version, get a Christian version, even if you can find, get a Muslim version, and read an older version and a more recent one, read a critical edition, and read a very plainly written one, and trust your own work to lead you where you need to go.
Right.
Don't trust me or experts. I'm not a guru. When you're listening to another person, even if they're a saint, you're just listening to another human being. When you listen to your heart, honestly, then you might be listening to God.
You got it.
All right, thank you very much for the call. And good morning. Wildcard Line, you're on the air with Stan Tennant. Hi.
Yes, Art.
Yes, sir.
Love the show. This is Jeff from Gulfport, Mississippi.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Tennant, is that right, Tennant? Okay. I was real interested in, especially your earlier show that you had, about a month ago or whenever?
Yeah, just a month ago.
And anyway, I started fiddling with, I was interested in the concept, so I started fiddling with the Hebrew a little bit. And anyway, I was using a sequence of 7 in a progressive bass. A 7 and a 7 bass, progressing to a 12 bass, but I was using 7 in each bass. Anyway, I uncovered a complete sentence, but I've only done one. I don't know if I can repeat it throughout the text. I just started at the beginning, and the beginning God created it all. And, but anyway, using that bass, it came out, man and woman, through sloth and desire, alas, will perish. It's kind of weird, but that's the way it came out. And I was wondering, have you tried any progressive basses like that?
Well, actually, yes and no. I haven't tried anything like that, and I wouldn't even know how to evaluate how technically accurate it would be to do such a thing. What I tried to do is to go back to technology and understanding that we know is available several thousand years ago. And so I'm basically trying to limit myself to the understanding of the calendar and of weaving and embroidering and brocading and working with wood and the simple cooking and household skills and farming and skills that we know people have. Because from that context, I can be reasonably sure that I'm not making up something. That the tools I'm using and the tools they were using are similar. If they're digging in similar earth, I'm likely to be on the right track. And if I use more modern ideas, it's hard for me to understand if they're appropriate.
The reason I used the 7 bass and progressive to 12 was because of the scribe during the time of the writing. So I thought that would be an interesting way to do it.
Well, I don't know anything about that, and I guess I feel like our audience feels I'm not really following completely what you were saying, so I guess we're all sort of in that same boat. I would say, Jeff, that maybe you want to go to some local college and take it to some math professor and have them look over what you did. And maybe they give you some clues as to whether it's a meaningful thing to do and what it might mean.
All right. First time caller line, you're on the air with Sam Town. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
My name is John from Columbus, Ohio.
Yes, sir.
John.
And I was wondering if any of your research goes back to the Kabbalah.
Yes, I didn't start with any interest in the Kabbalah. I never even heard the term when I started. But what's turned out is that these models that we found by lining up the letters in the Hebrew text of Genesis actually make sense of Kabbalistic texts that are now in dispute or only translated as mythology or poetry.
Okay. I believe there's a passage that says Moses knew the ways of God, but Israel saw the acts. In other words, like Moses knew how to do it, and Israel just saw it done.
There's some truth to that. The context of the situation at Mount Sinai is that Moses and the people were in a state of synesthesia, where it's actually said that they heard the images and saw the sounds. And that's indicative of a psychological state of meditation. And people have reported that in various different spiritual experiences in a wide range of traditions.
Right, and I had the experiences of meditation for 25 years. And I was wondering, is there a number or something where I can get your work?
Well, I was hoping that Art would give me an opportunity to give out information and people can get in touch with us.
All right, so
Can I do that?
Yes, do it then.
Okay, well, the best and easiest way is if you can get up on the internet. We have a website. It's the normal prefixes and then www.meru, M-E-R-U, Mary Edward Ray Gun Upside .org, O-R-G. We're a nonprofit, so we get an org designation.
Right.
And you can write to us for introductory information on our work, which is not about pyramids and is mostly about the alphabet and the text of Genesis, but we'll send the introductory packet. We're Meru Foundation, M-E-R-U, P.O. Box 503, and that's in Sharon, S-H-A-R-O-N, Sharon, Massachusetts. Massachusetts is M-A, and the zip is 02067.
All right, is there any phone number?
People want to order our material as listed on the website or want a free number that can be relayed to us for information, you can dial 888-422-MERU.
Why don't you just give me the numbers? Do you know the numbers?
Of what?
888-422, and then what are the rest of the
No,
numbers?
I don't have them. I just learned it that way myself. It would be 6378. I got that right off my phone.
I learned something in doing commercials and giving out numbers. Some people respond well to the letters, and other people don't respond at all well to them. And so if you're going to do that sort of thing, you're best off giving out both. It would be 888-422-6378, correct?
I believe that's correct. 378 MERU. The reason I use the letters is because that's the way I can remember it.
I understand. But everybody has a
Better to look at the website or drop us a line. Also, let me say, we were enormously pleased with the response we got from the last show. We sent out about 500 packets. Some of them went out later. We are a nonprofit, so we use nonprofit bulk mail. But it still costs us a couple of $1,000, and we really are a nonprofit. So if people can help us out a little bit, we greatly appreciate it. We'd like to provide the material, and we will provide it. But if any of you are in a reasonably well-off state and are feeling generous, we could sure use your help, and we appreciate it.
Well, it's incredible work you're doing, and absolutely incredible. And I go into a deep, long period of thought every time I have a conversation with you, and tonight has been no exception. So I want to thank you for being with us, and we will have you back yet again, no doubt, because as you mentioned, the audience reacted en masse, and I'm sure we'll get that again.
Well, I'd really be pleased, and there's a lot more that we didn't get to that we promised, so let's do it as soon as we possibly.
That's why there's always a next time. Stan Yemen, thank you.
Thank you, Phil.
Good night. All right, that's it, folks. That's all there is tonight. And we will be back tomorrow evening. It's going to be a very, very interesting week. Tomorrow evening, the Cassini mission with Carl Grossman. Wait till you hear about that. Coming up this Friday night, Saturday morning, Father Malachi Martin. For those of you that have been looking forward to another appearance, that'll be Friday night, Saturday morning, and there may be yet more to come. So